All right, welcome in everybody. This is step one of setting up a project for arrangement view in Ableton Live for RPC MDs. When you open a new project, this is something that has maybe not come directly from Multitracks. If you download from Multitracks, it will come already with a project setup, and the setup is a little simpler. But for us, these are the things that we want to do for every song to make sure that we put ourselves in the best position to be able to have everything run smoothly. So this is a new, if you just open up a new project in Ableton or a blank project, this is the template that should be coming up that I've set. It'll look something like this. We make changes occasionally, but this is what it'll look like. So the first thing that we are going to do as far as setup is the tempo and click, and then we are going to adjust the outputs, and then we're going to adjust global quantize settings and make sure that follow is turned on. So let's walk through those four things. The first and most important thing we can do is set the tempo. Let's set that first. That way, if you have to warp anything or adjust anything like that, everything should fall into place. So let's say we're going to do a song that's at 120 beats a minute. We just tap up here at the tempo box, type in 120, hit enter. That simple. You can also drag that to adjust that value if that's your thing. I prefer to just type it in. So, okay, there we go. And then you're going to want to click away from that, because sometimes if you were to hit something else, it might make an adjustment in that box as long as it's highlighted. Everything should be set up to come up with a MIDI click as you open a project, which I've set up with just a simple click and shaker loop that is made by MIDI. This is actually set to come up with using the a click kit that I created. So what we're going to do is convert this from MIDI to straight audio, and so here's how we do that. It's four steps, but it's all sort of one process. We're going to freeze this track, so right click it, and then we click freeze track. You see it turns blue. That keeps you from, that's basically locks it. Then after that, we're going to flatten it. Okay, that converts the MIDI to audio. And then we're going to take this audio, now it's on a MIDI track. It actually converts it to an audio track, but it says MIDI click on the track. So I just drag it down here to the click track, delete this MIDI click track. If you double click this, you can actually rename the clip down here. I like to rename it click, just so it looks nice and pretty sitting in the thing. And there we have our okay. So we have a nice little 4-bar click there. The next thing we have to do is make sure it is warped and looped. So it should be warped automatically when we freeze it, and you can see down here that it is, and it should be warped to the same tempo as the project, which is why it's important that we do the project tempo first. Then we're going to hit loop, and once we hit loop, we can just take the edge of it and drag it, and it will loop it as long as we need it to. So you can just loop it to the end of your project and adjust it to the exact ending later. Okay, the second thing we're going to do as far as setup, the first thing is tempo and click. The second thing is setting external outputs. We are currently using 2 outputs for a project, and what that means is if you plug in a headphone jack or if you use an external interface, we want our project going out of the first 2 outputs of that, so we can send 2 separate signals to the front of house and get click on the left side, guide on the left side, and then all the stems on the right side. The template project is set up that way, but I'm going to show you what it looks like so that you can adjust it as needed if you're pulling something in from Multitracks. So expand the click and guide, and we'll see that the output is set to external out. By default, it's set to master. It assumes that everything is you want on the master, but we're going to set it to external out number 1. If you're plugged into the headphone jack, that's going to come out the left side of the headphone jack. If you're plugged into an interface, that's going to come out of output 1 of the interface. Same thing for the guide, external out 1. Then you can contract those. And then we're going to go down here to the master and make sure that it is set to external out 2. Okay? So that when we have tracks, they will play out of the right side, even though we don't have the pan controls set for the tracks to the right. It will send everything to output 2 or the right side of the headphone jack. And the last two things are very simple. We're going to set the global quantization and the follow button. The global quantize is over here at the top, and it's by default set to 1 bar, but occasionally it gets changed or you know, something happens. We want it set to 1 bar almost all the time. I can only think of maybe one time that I've tried to set it to something else. And this is gonna allow us. This is the setting for how much space you need if you need to go between sections. So let's say we've got our intro here, okay, and then I'm going to set another locator at bar 13. The global quantization is how much space do you need before any on-the-fly changes you make take place. So let's say I'm hitting the intro here, and I need to skip ahead, then I've got 1 bar, 2, 3, 4, boom. Okay, or if I need to go back, I can even do it mid-bar, and it gives me 1 bar, catches exactly the same spot. So we always want that set pretty much to 1 bar. Only if you're going super duper fast might you want to set it more than that. And if you're going super duper slow, you might want to set it to 2 counts or something for some reason if you want. But my great suggestion is to set that to 1 bar. And then the last thing is the follow button. I suggest using this for making changes on the fly. This just means that while you're playing the song, that the view screen will follow along with you like this, as opposed to just sitting there and letting it leave you behind. And then going, oh snap, where are we? And you got to find the moving thing. So we don't want that. So set the follow to on, set this to 1 bar. Again, those should be the defaults for a new project, but occasionally you'll pull something in and you may have to make changes to that. So there you go. That's how you basic setup for an Ableton project at RPC in Arrangement View. Thanks.